Hey, what is up, Polar Fam? This is Shabert here for our community AMA on this beautiful Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022 at 8 p.m. UTC, the day before Thanksgiving here in the U.S. If you are in the U.S., hopefully you guys have a great Thanksgiving week, safe travels, and good times with the family. I know sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on around these types of holidays, right? So hopefully everyone is going to be having a good time and a very efficient time here over the next couple of days. Maybe even just detach a little bit from the crypto world just for a couple of days here, because sometimes I will admit it can be a little bit exhausting. But that being said, this is our community AMA where we're here to go over anything new, latest and greatest here with Polar, give you guys an opportunity to reach out to the team directly, ask any questions that might be on your mind, and then of course receive the answers to those questions, but also just to kind of chat and be able to interact with the community here every week as we have been doing. Maybe it'll be bi-weekly sometimes if we have other things going on in life, but that's okay. Thus far, we've pretty much made it weekly since quite some time now. So definitely appreciate you guys all joining in. If you guys do have any questions along the way, please simply request to speak live during this AMA, or you can post your questions in the AMA Questions Weekly channel in the Discord, and I will answer them live for you. Please try to keep those questions in that channel because it is just me up here on the stage, right? So if it's just me up here and I happen to miss your question because you are in the general chat, I do apologize. I'll get to it eventually, but please try to keep them in the AMA Questions Weekly channel so we can converge all that information appropriately, right? All right, so if you guys did not listen to last week's AMA, last Wednesday is when I debuted the white paper and the totality of it, right? So a lot of information in there. Hopefully you guys did spend some time to go read it over. We put it out 2 days before that, but now it's been a week and 2 days, right? So a lot of good things in there. I've noticed that some people have definitely read it and they put their input, and others were asking questions, and many of which would have been answered by the white paper. So if you do have an interest in migrating over to BSC with us, please take the couple of minutes there, read through the white paper, try to gain an understanding of what the vision actually is. Not for, because we don't want to answer these kind of, mundane questions or anything like that, but we want to make sure that you guys understand what the vision is and everything that we are moving towards, right? That's very, very important. We don't want you guys to move over blindly in any aspect. So that's kind of how we're going to be, moving forward with that. There's a lot of different elements to that white paper, mostly in reference to a difference in how our now nodes will be with a staked NFT will be, and then many other variables here that'll be occurring obviously in the near future. So there's going to be a lot of gamification aspects and a lot of other elements to the protocol that'll be kind of debuted little by little over time here. We do actually have some good movement on the Polar Bear Battle Royale side. There should be a tournament coming up in the next, hopefully, week or two. And that'll be just a good introduction for people to be able to utilize and interact with the new gamification part of the ecosystem before everything else is kind of put out there live. We do have a variety of other games that are actively being worked on, a lot of different artwork and strategies being built behind those. And we do have the nodes that we currently have being moved over to BSC on a variety of different ways, right? So if you guys do check out that announcement, it does go over how each tier, based off of number of node created, will be a little bit different than how it is right now. So with all that said, you need to kind of check these things out. Help me help you, because there's so much information in there, and I don't want you guys to miss that information as we go on. One of the biggest things that we had from last week was, hey, can we have some sort of system so that we can understand how the nodes are going to be as we migrate over, right? So we've kind of clarified how they're going to go transition as far as if there's any being combined together or in any different regards like that, or different mechanics with the life system. But we've also, shout out to Bernie, let's see if he's in here. I'm not sure if he's in here or not. But Bernie's working on a calculator on an Excel sheet. This will be very, very, very good for everybody once it goes live. Already what he's put out there for us to kind of look at is really good. He wants to make it a little bit better, a little bit more clean and efficient. But that way it'll kind of break down saying, hey, I have X amount of NFTs of this tier. The token price is this. I'm going to claim on this month. I'm going to use a repair kit, yes or no. And it really helps break down that different mechanics so you can see all the different variables. Because quite frankly, it's not practical for me to do hundreds or thousands of different individual variables because there's so many moving parts there, and it's not really overly confusing. But that being said, it is important to give you guys a tool that allows you to kind of check those things out yourself, which I think is good for everybody involved, especially for us, right? Because it helps us get that information out to you, which is very, very, very important. So what has changed since that last week? So I kind of did release an updated white paper on the 16th. This was just a couple of days. Let's see, when was the 16th here? Actually, yeah, that was last Wednesday. That's what I debuted with the white paper itself. So just for clarification purposes, the NFTs that are going to be migrated over, there is a total hard cap. Whatever nodes migrate over to BSC version 4.0, that's the total supply. We're going to give 2 weeks from the date of the migration starting till that last day that you can migrate your NFTs over. You cannot migrate them over after that, and you cannot create any new ones after that. The only NFTs that'll be available are those that'll be bought or sold via the Polar NFT marketplace. So that's going to be peer-to-peer. That means that I can list my NFT, my Everest, for 1,050 of the native token, which will now be Polar Fi, and then you can buy it, or vice versa. But there will be none of creating them from a new supply stream or selling them on open market places. That will not be an avenue that we're going to take there. So if you guys did check over that, there's the biggest change that we kind of threw in there was obviously that we changed everything from a dollar sign to a native token. I think that's very important. I'm glad that we did make that update because it's less... there's pros and cons, right? And I've kind of talked about in depth how having repair kits in a USDC amount would be beneficial, but this allows everything to be incongruent to the actual token price. So we don't want the repair kit to end up being more expensive than even the NFT is, right? Because if the NFT price goes down, technically because the token price goes down, and the $1 repair kit in USDC stays the same, then that disproportionately affects those who are willing to use a repair kit, and vice versa. If the token price goes up, then a repair kit is very, very low valued. So in order to mitigate those very specific issues, we kind of changed everything back to an APR sort of system based off of token value on a token-to-token standard. So those have been kind of the biggest changes in the last week. We have been refining some different things for the subscription model. If you guys did not notice, there is a new role for everybody here in the Discord and anybody who joins in new. And there will be many more roles, 12 of them actually, that'll be utilized via the subscription model for different tiers, different models, different evolutions as that kind of moves forward. So there will be some pretty good progress on that. It'll help differentiate yourself in the community, but also give you different access and different abilities to a variety of the newer things that'll be pushing towards in the future here, of course. So those are some of the different things that we're working on. It hasn't been like a complete overturn of the white paper or anything. There's a couple clarifications, a couple of updates since we were last here last week. And then, of course, let's see, is there anything else that I'm missing here on this end? Got to check over my notes. I think that is it. Okay, so I have heard a little bit about the investment funds, right? So everyone's asking, when is the report? Last month, Enor removed a lot of the different investment funds from the traditional bots that we were using to then ultimately we're going to start moving them over to one off of that's pretty much custom designed in a sense, in a regard. It's designed by an individual, right? But it more so meets what we're looking for because we're not looking for very large swings that can go minus 20%, plus 30%, minus 3%, plus 5%. We don't really want that. We want a little bit of consistency. So we were able to identify some of the trade bots out there, particularly that of a DCA bot style that allow us to get somewhere around the point of maybe 5 to 8% per month. That's kind of what we're looking for. If it goes a little bit higher, fantastic, but we don't really want to be occurring losses. We just want a little bit of growth, steady, and like often, so it's consistent. So we can actually say, hey, this is the revenue stream that we are working on. This is what we can relatively expect. And that really allows us to kind of work within our individual scope. So that's an update on that. Once we get all those things situated, we will obviously notify you guys via probably that financials update announcement channel. So you guys are all clear about what is happening there. But there wasn't like a substantial loss or anything in October. So don't worry too much about that. I think Ego was up just a little bit. And I think some of the others were either up or down, very, very small. So I wouldn't worry too much about it wasn't a big loss. I'm going to say that straight up. I don't recall If he was even, it was probably a positive, just a slight positive if I had to guess. So that's kind of the update on the investment side as well. And because it's just me talking here, don't mind if I have to take a little bit of a breather. And I'm going to try to see if anybody does have any questions. Of course, if you guys do have any questions on your mind, please post away in the AMA Questions Weekly channel or simply request to speak on this Discord AMA, and I will bring you up to speak live as well. So we'll start going over some of the questions here. We have one from Mekar, which for some reason I always want to say Mercy, but Mekar. Hi, Shib. 3 questions about the upcoming AMA. Thanks. Number 1, what steps need to be completed for us to proceed with the migration? Are there any problems? I assume that means, are there any problems on our side? There are not. So we are kind of working through the different steps. There was some different kind of artist level of work that needs to be done. The contracts of it have already been secured for quite some time now. So a lot of that is basically front end artwork. And then also, I wouldn't say that it delayed us any, but just that chaos in the markets with the FTX nonsense. It says, okay, hey, we can take a little bit here. We can take a minute to make sure everything is right. We don't really need a rush because we're not in a FOMO position, right? There's no reason to jump into the deep end unless we're 100% sure everything is ready to go, because we do not want what happened with 3.5 to happen again with 4.0, right, where we had to kind of backtrack from there. We want it to be secured, we want it to look good, we want it to feel good, and then of course operate as it's supposed to. So we'll get that live. We'll keep you guys informed. Like I keep posting out there, unfortunately, multiple times a day, there is a pin when migration. We will keep you guys informed. I'm not going to set a date. I'm not going to set a timeline. I'm honestly not going to answer a whole lot about that because I don't know yet, right? So can't really go too much into that. Okay, next question. By the time we get income from Polaris, will NFT holders be rewarded from other sources? Enor's kind of answered that in the past. Again, I can't go too much into that because we're trying to predict the future, and I cannot predict the future. So what he mentioned there was it takes some time to develop a revenue source mechanic, and until that point, we are just not going to move that way just yet. That's why we are doing these staking mechanics like we are right now. So, unfortunately, I can't answer that question specifically either. But we've given you guys some information. I think that was yourself that asked a while back, maybe somebody else. But Enor gave a pretty good example that we want to be able to grow this efficiently so it's actually productive and not just a couple of dollars a month at most, you know what I mean? So, and then it caps the growth from there. It can get kind of messy. So this allows us to have a short-term plan, a mid-term plan, and then ultimately a long-term plan and go from there. What are the planned sources of income besides Polaris and the trade bots? There's a couple of things that Enor's been working on there, but we've already gone over the subscription model in the white paper, the various games. There's going to be an educational platform that we also described in the white paper, where there's a variety of different things with that. There's a trade bot revenue. So there is a lot of different things that could be going on that have already been announced, more so than just the one game of Polaris and the trade bots themselves. So there's a lot of different things in there, but specifically to answer your question, the things that have already been announced is the trade bots, is the different games, whether it be hair games, the Polar Bear Battle Royale, and the Polaris game, and then also the Polar RPG, which that's kind of simulated with the NFTs itself, but also a subscription model to kind of get those games involved and also work on the educational side of what we're going to be pushing out there. So there's going to be a few different things working on. All right, next question from Mark Weifer, I do apologize if I did mispronounce your name, so I do apologize there. Questions for the AMA. What will be the process for lifting the Genesis NFTs on the marketplace? It'll be very, very, very similar to what it is right now. You basically just list it on the marketplace. It's peer-to-peer, so if somebody buys it, then they can buy it. It's going to be at a defined price because we do not want them to be undercut on the value of them. So because it is our own marketplace, we can set the floor price. All of those floor prices are listed out in the white paper as well. So it'll be pretty simple. Probably just an approval of a contract and then a list, or list for sale or some button. Probably just a couple of buttons and you'll be good to go. Are there any life potion requirements? I don't think so. If I assume you mean, are there any life potion requirements for listing on the marketplace? And the answer to that would be no. You can list the NFT at full health or at no health. It doesn't die totally, so you can still interact with it accordingly. Will it be the fixed prices? Yes, just answered that there. Will the seller receive the full amount or will sell fees be applied? So the way it is right now is I think it's a 2% transaction fee. I think it's how it's laid out with the current marketplace, right? That's not currently active because there's no new nodes being able to be produced. I would expect a very small sale fee to be associated with it, but I don't have that information right here in front of me this second. So we'll kind of get into that as we start moving forward and get some clarification on that. It's a good question though. I honestly don't really know there. It'll probably be a small one, very similar to how it is right now. Next one from Hargreave DeFi. I have not tuned in for the last 4 months. That is, I would highly advise that you start. Let's see if I can go find the announcement that I'm going to guide you to. Right, so we started announcing these kind of transitions way back in September. Let's look here, September 7th, September 13th. So I'm going to tag you in this one. Definitely read through the announcements. It's going to be hard for me to describe everything that has been changing. I would definitely also advise listening to the AMA from last week. It's posted in the past AMA. Let's see, in the AMA recordings section from last week, that is a very good breakdown of the white paper itself. The tokens will not migrate. I've been putting that information out there as well for a few months now. So the LP here on AVAX will not be touched. We're not going to be pulling the liquidity pool. So you can sell your tokens on AVAX, but there's going to be no migration or airdrop of the tokens to BSC. You can only migrate nodes, and that node breakdown of how they're going to migrate is in the more recent announcements there. But I definitely would start there at that announcement, kind of start reading through all of those because there's been a lot of updates, right? So if you haven't paid attention in 4 months, I would definitely advise paying more attention to things you want to be involved in. Of course, that is totally up to you. But that being said, there's a lot of information, right? And DeFi is very, very fast moving, and there's been a lot of updates since then. Definitely check out the white paper. The most recent announcement on the 16th of November has the most up-to-date white paper as well. Read through that, try to get a good understanding of what's going to be happening on that side, and it will be good for you to kind of catch up and say, hey, this is something I want to be involved in, or maybe not, and then kind of go from there. So that's kind of what we're trying to do up here, is just get all that information pushed out to the people here so you guys can make an educated decision on how you'd like to move forward with Polar, because we do want the whole community to come along. We want it to be nice and easy to understand, as we start moving over. From Odin, will we be able to sell NFTs that need life potions? As far as I'm aware, yes. You should be able to still list them on the marketplace. There shouldn't be any issue with that because it's the NFT contract that you're listing and not the contract doesn't change whether it has 100% or 0% as far as the NFT token ID and the token contract is concerned. So I would imagine you should be able to at a different price. I honestly don't know. I'll kind of tap into that a little bit as well. I'll ask Enor a little bit about that and see, hey, what is the idea from there? Or can we at least notify people if it is an NFT that doesn't have that level of 100% or 75% or 50% or 0% or whatever it might be? I think that might be a good thing. One, for the community, so you guys understand what you're getting, but also it would make sense to have a good understanding of what the value of them will be. Let's see. We got Chicken XRP typing away. You try to post there in the general chat. But of course, I did see it, so I'll kind of let you finish typing out here, then I'll answer your question, and we'll kind of go over one of those as well. Pretty chill AMA so far. If you guys, again, just shout out to those in the U.S. that are getting ready for Thanksgiving. Lots of travel, lots of busyness between here and January 1st. A lot of different, obviously Christmas, New Year's, we have Thanksgiving now. This is usually when a lot of people travel. People are on spring break if they're still in college or in school, of whatever kind. So it's kind of busy for parents, students, kids, adults, everybody out there. So definitely appreciate you guys tuning in here and getting those questions out there. Let's see. Any idea on ROI from previous nodes? Okay, so to answer that question, again, the APR model that's listed out in the white paper is the most up-to-date information. That's going to be how it's going to work out from there. So I've never been able, if you guys, let's see when you joined in here. Back in April. Cool. So I've been saying this, literally since January, is that I'm never going to guarantee $8 return for people. I can't, right? Because how can I guarantee that if the token price is variable? If people can buy or sell and it changes the value. So that being said, the APR model that we have listed up on the white paper, it is designed to maximize returns for those who do not claim very often. Bernie's been putting together a pretty good Excel sheet calculator. We're going to get it revised and release it out there once it's good to go, nice and clean and visually appealing. So you can go in there and say, hey, I have 20 Everest, token prices, 10 cents. Don't need a life potion, use the life potion, claimed on month 7. So you can start putting all that data in there and it'll tell you what your anticipated return is based off of the token price at that time. So that's going to be the best thing that we can put out for everybody in there, because everybody's situation is going to be different, right? So for you have a certain amount of nodes. For Odin, for myself, for Hargreave, for Mark, for everybody out there, we're all kind of working off of a little bit of a different system because we all have different nodes. We all going to have different levels of nodes as they start moving on. So this will really give that individualized and personalized experience for you guys to interact with. I think that's the best way to do it. Clean, efficient, really allows everyone to say, hey, this is how I can get a better understanding, because quite frankly, I've said this, I don't know, started probably in June, maybe even July, where I was like, hey, after that market crash in May, the things that we're pushing towards in the future, and I don't want this to be taken in a bad way. We still obviously understand that this is a lot of money was invested back in April and before. But once we hit that market crash, the entire environment of DeFi changed so significantly that it's literally not possible for us to offer the kind of returns that people were getting back in January, February, March, April, and even into May, right? So it's just simply not possible. If we were to try to do that, the treasury would get run out in approximately, 5 to 10 days. People would just blow through it if we were to try to offer those amount of rewards. Actually, probably not even that much, probably about 1 day. So it's a very different environment. The kind of way I've been asking people to try to think about it, if you're still in DeFi, you're still on these projects, you're still trying to be involved, not just with Polar, with any project that's out there in DeFi, try to kind of put a little spacer between pre-May and now, because it's very, very different. So you have to kind of have a little bit of a different expectations. I know it sucks to think about it that way because it is real money that you put in. But that being said, it's just not realistic for us to say you're going to be able to get, $2,000 a day again off of your 5 Everest. It's just simply not realistic. You can't do it anymore. So that being said, there's a lot of different elements that we're building towards. If you do like the gamification side and you do like an educational side, there's a lot of opportunity there beyond the NFTs. But if you're not super interested in that, the NFTs are still going to be working in a sense, right? Now, 60% APR is certainly not, 3% a day, which is what we were seeing at some point, because that's just, as we saw the results of that, you can't manage it. You cannot really navigate that. And for better or worse, I thought I was going to get fired literally back in February because I was going to war with some of the previous team members who are no longer here because I wanted lower APRs back in February, because you can't, just economically, it didn't make sense, right? So that being said, we are where we are. We have to start building where we are now and really grow forward from the new version of the ecosystem and allow this to start developing its kind of new identity, while we still always understand and know that all of our community right now is here because of the past, right? So we need to transition that past into the present, into the future as efficiently as possible. I think I put it in the general chat today. I want you guys to want to migrate over to BSC. Even if you don't get fully involved, you just want to be around to see how it unfolds. That's what I want to have happen, right? So I'm a community manager. There was days back then, in February, March, where I was literally 24 hours on Discord interacting with the community plus. So it was a great time, and I want you guys to be able to want to come with us on the developing ecosystem that we're currently working on too. So I understand that not everybody will be, and we've already seen quite a substantial downtick in the interactivity. But I think if things start getting better at some point, then there will be some good news on that front, and hopefully we can start getting a little bit more engaged over time. So lots of good things working on there. I guess in better news, the economy. is showing some signs of life. I still think it's going to lead to a recession in quarter 1 to maybe quarter 2 of 2023 at the latest. So that could be a little bit rough. But that being said, I do think that we might have hit a little bit of a I don't want to say a bottom, but we're dragging towards the bottom of where we're likely going to be for quite some time. With that FTX nonsense going on, I think it's very important to understand that the impact of that was pretty huge and is still going to be huge. Allegedly, there's still, somewhere along the lines of $200 million worth of Ethereum that can be sold. Now, is it going to be sold? Is it going to be sold later when no one knows? Are they ever going to be able to off-ramp it? All those questions are still up in the air. The way they were doing it has already been shut down. That's why we haven't seen any major sell-offs since, I believe, Monday or Sunday early morning. So that's a good sign. Now, here's a crazy thing about that, right? So let's just say that this alleged hacker can't even sell that Ethereum anymore. All it takes is for a couple tweets to come out saying that they're getting ready to sell it, and the market just tanks instantaneously before a single Ethereum is sold, right? So it's a little bit emotional right now. The markets are a little bit weird. There's not a ton of liquidity in crypto in general compared to what it was a year ago. So things do move one way or the other very, very quickly. Like right now, what is Bitcoin at? Like 16.2? Let's see where we're at right now. 16.5, not bad. So we're at 16.5. We were just at almost 23,000 not super long ago, and we can get back to the low 20s. We can get back to 30. We can get to 13. All of those can come very, very quickly. So just if you do get a little bit attached to the markets and how that impacts things, maybe don't pay too much attention to it if it is a bit mentally exhausting. I found myself last week like really stressing about things that I have no control over, and I'm kind of at peace right now again, right? Things stabilize. I understand the environment. We're all good here. We got to keep building, growing with what we're doing in Polar and in DeFi in general. The more good actors to start outweighing the bad actors is a good thing. So we got to keep building here and trying to keep positivity going. That's part of what this whole Thanksgiving holiday is for, is that there is a lot of negativity in the world. Try to be positive about where we are and try to really grow as a family over time. I know that might have answered a question that wasn't even asked, but hey, I do like kind of go into that stuff. I definitely appreciate all of that kind of mindset here as we start developing into, reminder of my brain. We're going to start kind of getting into the podcast world a little bit. So that's what, Pret asked me about it. I've thought about it. And actually, if you guys have followed me on Twitter, I've done podcasts in the past. But I might start doing some podcasts again where we'll cover DeFi, we'll cover Polar, we'll cover economic news, we'll cover, whatever. Well, literally whatever. It doesn't even have to be all crypto based, but I think that's a good way for just good engagement, a little bit of a different environment here where we can do these AMAs, which these AMAs are kind of like a podcast, but I don't really have to, get hyper focused on Polar the entire time. We can definitely talk about that, but we can also talk about other projects that might be coming up. We could talk about Bitcoin in general. We could talk about crypto environments, economy, all that good stuff there. So that kind of gets me a little bit excited. We hope to get that live here early to mid-December. It's about to be Thanksgiving weekend. I got a little bit of kind of things here that I'll be busy on. So I'll start kind of working on that next week. And I'd love to be able to get these podcasts going. Ideally, even move it into the guest world because I think that's pretty cool, right? And it's just going to be very humble, very chill. Try to just grow it organically, create an environment that people want to actually tune into. And we'll start going from there. I think that'll be a pretty cool thing for all involved. So that's going to be another thing that will get put out there in the near future. Also very good for SEO, by the way. If we can start putting us on different platforms and I'm posting the Polar's website on those platforms links, that does help with a little bit of SEO, search engine optimization for those who are not aware of that, which will be good as we start kind of developing the different elements of the ecosystem here. So just a couple of things here. Pretty chill, pretty easy AMA. It's only been 30 minutes, but hey, I feel like it's been relatively productive, right? I mean, not a ton of questions. Last week was an hour, 20 minutes or so. So if you guys did not listen to last week's AMA and you have some questions about the white paper, please try to find a little bit of time to go listen to that one if possible, because that is a very good one. We've gone over a ton of information in there about the white paper and all the different updates onto version 4.0. Very, very good substantive AMA from last week. So please go check that out. But yeah, if we don't have any other questions, I'll kind of start bringing this up to a wrap here. Let's see. No more questions. The AMA questions channel. Yeah, pretty chill one. I do like when these AMAs last, 30 to 45 minutes plus. I prefer them to be a little bit longer, to be honest, because I like to engage with you guys. Because that's just me. I'm actually in a good mood right now. I'm in a good mood this week, feeling good, feeling positive, feeling relaxed. So lots of good things here that we're building up towards. So again, hey, if you are in the U.S., happy Thanksgiving week to you. Please enjoy the time with your families. If you are traveling, travel safe. There is some snow and bad weather across the United States. Please be careful. Oh, we do have somebody asking to speak. I'll try to bring them up here, and then I'll go into my closing arguments here in just a second. Oh, they jump back down. Okay, so I'll kind of bounce back to that. So safe travels if you are traveling. If you are in a region of the world that does not celebrate Thanksgiving, all it is just simply at this point, it's a day of appreciation. So I just want to let you guys know that we definitely appreciate you guys in here as well, joining us on these AMAs. I sincerely do appreciate it. I do like to be able to talk and interact with the community on a weekly basis. That helps me, just kind of maintain that connection with you guys. And I'm trying to invite up Levelant if you are ready to go. If you do want to come on up, you can be brought up onto the stage, but if it was an accidental thing here, then you might not come up. I did send you that invite to come on up. Levelant. There you go. Hey, what's going on? Once you unmute yourself, you will be live. You are currently muted. Level on. You're gonna have to unmute yourself on the bottom of the interface here. There's a leave stage one. Up there you go. How's it going?
Thanks for mentioning that the button is at the bottom of the app because I just didn't know where it was. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. I've no worries. It happens. How you doing?
Not like I'm a total noob and this is just the first time of me joining an AMA, right? Thanks a lot for the information that you've shared so far. I was actually gonna make a funny question of the like if you were to make a metaphor and define an animal that Polar was before and is aiming to become in the future, which animals would those be?
So it's hard. Let's see here. In a way, let's kind of think about it this way. So we were literally on top of the world, right? Back in January and February was because of some FUD, but we were still on top of the world because of it. So back then, you could say that we were like literally like a polar bear. We were at the top of the food chain. We only had a couple competitors out there. Really, nobody was able to mess with us. We couldn't get brought down for anything. But now we're not quite as loud and aggressive and dominant in the space, but we are very focused. We are very strategic right now. So it's a good focused strategic animal to kind of give that personification to. What do you think would be? I want to keep it Arctic, maybe like a little Arctic fox, right? So we're not quite as big and loud and making a ton of noise, but we're very focused on what our goals are, and we're going to navigate them carefully. We are aware that there's some predators out in the space that can definitely take us down. Subjectively speaking, obviously we're not at risk of getting taken down by anybody right now. So we're humble. We're understanding where we are in the world. We've paved a good path. We've built a little nest here. Now we're trying to find a bigger cave to live in and kind of grow from there and create that new environment. Hopefully that was a good little example.
Hey, I appreciate you following down the rabbit hole of this metaphor. I think the Arctic fox is a nice one because it is kind of, what's the word? Stealthy. It's in the shadows. It knows when to attack, how to attack. But once it does, it's crushing, and it's a smart animal, right? One to be looked after. So I appreciate you entertaining my question, and wish you a great day.
Hey, definitely appreciate it. Thank you for coming up here. That's different than I normally get. So shout out to you. Definitely appreciate you coming up here and bringing that up to the stage as well. All good stuff. Hey, we're in a little positivity corner, right? So hopefully nobody is offended by a potential Arctic fox, but I think they're pretty cool, right? So hey, definitely shout out to that. That's a good question. Got my brain thinking. Luckily, I didn't stumble there. I was able to get that out there without, having to say, oh, I'll get back to you next week. So my brain is still functioning good and properly. Don't know if it actually works, but shout out to Alpha Brain from Onnit, which is one of Joe Rogan's companies. That's kind of one of my go-to supplements. I don't know if it works or not, but it works at least as a placebo effect for me. So I enjoy it. Keeps me sharp in my ripe age of 30, right? So shout out to that as well. Definitely appreciate you guys jumping on up here. Looks like we still don't have any new questions that came up. So again, wherever you guys are in the world, this is a week in the U.S. just to kind of be thankful for where we are currently and kind of the simpler things in life, right? So that's kind of where I am, trying to reflect on where I've been previously. Although many of you guys kind of know my background if you've been around here for a while now, between my different occupations and also just life in general. So I'm definitely appreciative of where we are today as a family and where I am as a person. So shout out to you guys here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week. Tag us anytime. I know I'm going to be a little bit busy, but you tag me and I'll answer your question there. I'm always checking the general chats. If you hadn't noticed, I respond super quickly even when not tagged. So we'll try to keep you guys occupied always. We'll get you information out as soon as it becomes available to us. And I'll get that question answered about the life of nodes as far as being sold in the marketplace goes. I'll get that information out to you guys accordingly. So let's see. Hey, for some reason, guys, I know you just said in my inbox, if you DM me and we're not friends, it's sending it to like a spam filter. So I do apologize if I don't respond to your DMs, but it's sending it all to a spam filter. And I'll be honest, it's been kind of refreshing because I'm a little bit involved in DeFi and I wake up with, 20 spam marketing DMs a day. So right now I don't see them ever, and it's kind of made my life a little bit better. So try to let me know if you do send a DM, and if it's relevant, I'll answer it. I'm sorry if it's one of those weird marketing ones, I might not, but we'll go from there. But if you do have questions out here, I definitely recommend putting them in the public channel because I definitely prefer to answer them. Because if you have a question, somebody else may have that question as well. So we're not going to dive into other projects here. So I'm going to delete that, but I don't know what that is. Just to answer your question. So I don't know anything about that there, and that's all good. So I definitely appreciate you guys here for joining in to this community AMA in this beautiful November 23rd, 2022, or the morning of November 24th, 2022, to those on that region of the world, the Australia, New Zealand, and probably other parts of the world regions. Shout out to all of you guys here for joining into this community AMA. It's been a pretty chill, pretty humble. Love it. Like the questions, like you guys for coming up on stage when possible. Please continue to ask away. We'll get any and all information to you guys that we can. So until then, keep us engaged in the chats. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week and an amazing weekend. And we will catch you guys very, very soon with the next community AMA. So until then, peace out, fam.